evening, Coach D. Welcome to our webinar session. So glad to see you again this evening.
How you doing, Chris? Same here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, let me just clear out a couple things,
Okay.
and then we can get started. Okay, so let me just do this. Okay, so um, we're in our second session of our five-part series. You're handling three of them, and we're talking about leadership in this whole series, and your topics 1, 3, and 5 out of the five, and then I'll handle 2 and 4.
Right.
Your three topics were the why, the how, and the what.
Correct.
Or maybe I mixed it up a little.
That's about right. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So tonight we're going to be talking about leadership and how it translates to business success. Actually, the topic tonight is there a way to translate effective leadership into personal and business success? So, when we get started, yeah, here's my opinion. Transformation with effective leadership can, sustain, and we all want sustenance, right? And enhance and improve business results. Not only just business results, but productivity and revenue. And I think all that kind of leads to business success. So,
Right.
For me, great leaders inspire and even demand focus, production, excellence, and ultimately success. So, one of the promises that you and I always make is that we don't have fluff on our sessions. All of our sessions, we give great value. There's no selling. We might mention a product here and there, but it's not a pitch fest. There's no hard selling. We're in our older and wiser years. We're much more mellow
That's right,
nowadays,
Chris.
right?
Yep.
So, one of the promises that you and I both made is when we share information, with all the good folks watching right now. Actually, we're on Facebook Live, Coach.
Oh, okay.
We got to be we have to share information that's timely. Timely means it's appropriate for the time period or the current situation. It
Mm-hmm.
has to be relevant so that people can take it and apply it, and it has to be valuable. And what that means is that they can take it and they use it, and they get results, right?
Correct.
So we start with probably a definition of what's a great leader. You know, to me, a great leader has to motivate, has to guide, they have to teach, and then empowerment. Allowing them to do the things that they need to do. Kind of like a little bit of independence,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to empower them. And sometimes this is a bit hard. We have to allow them to make mistakes, but we don't want them to make too many mistakes, and we don't want them to make mistakes that really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of this the story that I read. I think it must have been about 15 or 20 years ago. In a large company, if I recall the story, it was in the U.S. Large company, an executive made a huge mistake that cost millions of dollars, and so he went up to see the president or the CEO, saying, you know what, I'm so worried. I think I'm going to be fired, right?
Right.
Because it's a huge mistake. And he went up to the boss and said, I made this mistake, so I'm ready to be fired, or give me the chance to resign. And the boss said, "Are you crazy? You just made a mistake that cost us millions of dollars, and now you know not to make that mistake again.
Right.
So
Right.
we're going to
Right.
keep you around, right?"
Mm-hmm.
So before we really get into it, um, do you have any questions that maybe you want to ask me real quick?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I got lots of questions for you, but yeah, I guess one of them
Awesome.
would be we're here to pick your mind, Chris. So, what's your secret sauce? I mean, as a
Secret
leader,
sauce for leadership as a leader. Okay.
right?
Thank you for the question. That's a very interesting question, Coach D. For me as a leader, I really have two basic foundations.
Mm-hmm.
The first is lead from the front, and leading from the front is not enough. Um, one of my foundational philosophies is never ask anybody to do anything that I haven't done or I'm
Mm-hmm.
not willing to do.
Okay.
So if let's say I ask my team, hey, you know what, we need to get this done. I've either already done it and I can guide them on how to do it, or I'm willing to do it along with them.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is what I call the three rules in my organization. Everyone in my organization, I established this probably 18 years ago, and everyone that is with me, they know these three rules. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the first rule is don't lie.
Okay.
Don't lie to me because you know what? I'll always find out. And
Okay.
so when we say don't lie, come clean. It's better that you let me know what the problem is than trying to cover it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can fix it together because you know as well as I do, Coach D, that when we have a problem and we keep it and we keep it and then it'll keep becoming bigger and bigger,
Yeah, it
right? It's easier to
festers.
fix something at the very start, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
The next is don't be lazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Laziness is a big thing with me. It's not so much that you cannot relax or you cannot take a break. Um, for me, and maybe I'm a bit harsh when I say it this way,
Mm-hmm.
I despise lazy people.
Okay.
Okay, uh, I expect you to work hard because
Right.
you know what? Damn, I work hard too. And
Right.
then the next thing is uh, don't be incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
And incompetent to me is not so much that you don't know how to do it, but you should know how to do it and you don't bother finding out. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking more for mastery, more for efficiency, more for productivity, professionalism, innovation, creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So the incompetence is a huge thing. Um, so these three rules when I get somebody into my company, and of course we have a whole thing where of system where we teach and we guide them along. But when you enter my organization, I tell you, don't lie to me, don't be lazy, and don't be incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal as a leader, instead of me telling them what to do, um, I want my team, wherever they may be in three different countries, I want them, when we first start the relationship, it's like, okay, do this, do this, do this, and then guide them along. Eventually, what I really, really want to occur is that they start telling me what to do
Mm-hmm.
and telling me what needs to be done. And
Correct.
I think as leaders, yeah, um, when we guide our teams, when we guide our companies, organization, the human resources in our organizations, we want to lead, but it's a lot of work and there's a lot of stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we want them to grow to the point where each one of them become leaders as well. And then it's not that I take a back seat or the top leader takes a back seat, but then you have synergy, and then you have creativity, innovation in all areas of in all levels of the organization.
Right.
Because instead of instead of me nitpicking, micromanaging, uh, I really really love it when anyone on my team comes to me and says, "Hey boss, we need to do this, and this is
Mm-hmm.
what you need to do," and I go, "Oh, I need to do that. Okay, I'm gonna do it."
Okay.
So I really look forward to that. And I see a lot of things on the internet. I see a lot of things on Facebook. I mean, we cannot escape Facebook. We cannot escape the internet, right?
Right.
And but one of the things I'm really tired of is I'm tired of the buzzwords and the cliches. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like there's no substance behind it.
Right.
There's so many gurus,
Yeah.
spouting this BS. They post a cliche. I saw one just I think it was either yesterday or this morning. A self-proclaimed youth mentor,
Mm-hmm.
constantly posting buzzwords and cliches, and then people look at it. Oh wow, he's so smart, and then but there's no substance behind it.
Right.
So, that's one of the things where I said that when we share information, we really go down into the timely, the relevant, and the valuable. I mean, anybody can spout cliches and BS, right?
Yeah.
And this,
Actually, Chris.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if I can interrupt for a second.
sure,
We just had a client this morning, and then he told us he said he was talking about confidence and stuff like that. And what happened was I saw a quote that he sent. It says, um, uh, "Skill, education gives us the ability to do something, and confidence gives us what is that? Skill gives us the ability to know how to do something, and
right?
confidence gives us the strength to go do it." And but it just didn't make sense
Mm,
to me because when you talk about confidence, it believe it or not, a lot of people don't have the guts to go and execute,
right.
right? So
It's like
mhm.
it's like how do you conjure confidence? You cannot,
Right, exactly.
right?
Yep. So I thought that was quite interesting when you mentioned some things like cliches and things like that. So that's the first thing that popped into mind. But please continue.
Sure, sure. For the leaders out there, right? If let's say you desperately want your team to change for the better,
Hmm.
and this is a cliche, yeah, this is a cliche. The whole cliche says, if you want your team to change, be the change first.
Right.
you know, but even though it's cliche, we don't stop there. Okay, we got to go in and see how do you want your team to change,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
You got to list out what are the things that you got to do, um, and you got to take the lead because damn, you're the leader, right? I remember I had a coaching client. This was maybe about 8 9 years ago. I won't mention his name because we're
Right.
we're still friends, and I coach on. I seldom do that now, but I used to do that a lot. But I don't coach on relationships and the feelings and stuff like that because
Okay.
that's not my area because I have no feelings and I'm too hard, right?
Okay.
So I had him as a coaching client, and we were figuring out how to increase his business. Um, and so he made the transition from being very average results into phenomenal results.
Hmm.
And one day, this was about 2 months or 3 months into our coaching relationship, and then he said, all of a sudden he just said, "Hey Chris, can I ask you a personal question?" And I thought, oh, personal question, what is that now? And then he said, you talked about your dad and your growing up, and then I have problems with my dad. Um, his dad was still alive, and
Hmm.
I believe so still at this time. But he said, as far as I can remember, he was about 40 years old at the time, 41, 42, and he said, as far as I can remember, it's been 10 or 12 years since his dad told him, "Hey son, I'm proud of you and I love you."
Okay.
So it's been, since he was like about 30 years old, his dad stopped saying that, "Hey son, I love you." And so, this cliche comes to mind. If you want something to change for the better, be the change. So I'm not into emotional coaching or relationship coaching. And I said, "Hey, you know what, Joe? Um, let's talk about a business scenario. Okay, let's take what we've learned over the last 3 months and apply it to your situation. Because a lot of things in sales and business can transition into better results in our relationships, right?
Hmm.
So I told him, okay, so if you want your dad to tell you that he loves you, you do it first instead of just waiting because maybe he doesn't know, maybe he doesn't realize. And I
Hmm.
said, why don't you make the first move? Because that's what we do in sales and business, right? We make the first move. It's our responsibility because it's our responsibility to make the first move, and it's our responsibility to make them comfortable and not them. It's not their job to make us comfortable,
Right.
right? So he said, hey, you know what? that sounds like a good idea. I'll give it a try. So I think he did it that night or the next day, but on our next session, which was a week later, he said, you know what, I want to thank you for suggesting that. I had a great conversation with my dad that very night.
Wow.
I called him and then we talked for hours,
Mm-hmm.
but I called him and I wanted him to tell me that he loved me, like, son, I love you. So I took your advice and said, if you want change, be the change, right?
Right.
And then so he told me, uh, he called his dad, talked to the dad, good evening, how is things? And then he said, hey dad, I wanna tell you that I love you,
Mm.
right? And then his dad said, son, I love you too, and I'm very proud of you.
Wow.
So sometimes, when we're talking cliches, we have to back it up.
Right.
I'm like feeling a bit emotional, retelling the story.
Uh-huh.
So, um, we I yeah. So when we talk about cliches, we don't just take the cliche and just throw it on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
We got to look past it and see how we can take that and apply it to us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep.
Before we move on, Coach D, do you have any other questions before we move on?
Mm. Okay. Uh, uh, so can you share like some reasons why strong leadership is important to a business, and what are some of the benefits of it?
Okay. Uh, Thank you for the question. You're asking hard questions tonight, yeah.
Well, hey,
Okay.
well, that's what we're here for, right? We're here to, extract all
Right.
that valuable information out, right?
You know what, Coach D? On your session, I'm gonna bust out the encyclopedia, and I'm going to get the questions out of there, and then we're gonna stump you, all right?
uh,
So what I was,
oh my.
and interestingly, what I was doing is I know the answer, but I was saying all that so that I could figure out the answer, and I think I have the answer.
Okay.
Um, okay, business without good leadership is like
Hmm.
trying to reach a new land on a ship with no compass and no rudder. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so leaders have to create, and that's at every level, whether it's the top, middle, or the lower levels. It doesn't matter. And
Right.
even if you lead only one person, leaders have to create the organizational vision, the purpose,
Hmm.
and the goals that everyone needs to get on board with and
Right.
work towards achieving. And leaders have to lead by example.
Hmm. Okay.
They need to inspire their teams to believe in the vision, own the mission in order to achieve the targets and milestones. Because um, anybody can do anything well for a short amount of time,
Hmm.
and so the trick is getting people to do well for a longer period of time. Now, I think when we have good leadership, productivity will increase, uh, succeeding under pressure,
Hmm.
emotional intelligence,
Right.
seriousness. Okay, seriousness in the business operations at all the levels, not just the top or the middle management.
Hmm.
We need to increase our confidence in our team, and our teams need to increase their confidence as well. And this
For
comes
sure.
from repetition,
Hmm.
from being empowered to carry out their innovation, their creativity.
Right.
And then, of course, it has to be two-way listening and communication.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Being dependable, reliable, and
Mm.
competent, which leads back to one of my three rules. So when a company or the leader implements the vision and the values, most businesses think they have a vision of where they would like to be in the future and how they want to be perceived by clients and
Right.
the public and stakeholders. And these lofty visions or the big picture, right, can
Hmm.
sometimes get lost in the day-to-day activities of keeping the business running.
Right.
But a strong leader will ensure the whole team is reminded on a daily basis and not just reminded, but it becomes part of them,
Mm-hmm.
where the organization's vision and the values remind them to implement it into their daily actions. One of the examples I can think of this is back in the 80s and 90s, and maybe even today, the corporations in Japan, from the highest level to the guy, and I don't mean any disrespect, but to the guy sweeping the floor and the janitor, no disrespect,
Right.
but everybody knew exactly what the vision was, and they all were on board, and they worked towards it, that vision.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yep.
when everyone's on the vision, and success is occurring, and everyone partakes in that success, what it does is it boosts morale, because a company is just a company. Businesses are nothing without the people that make up the teams that make up the human resources in the organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because constant recruiting, um, is time consuming, is expensive, and so boosting morale to help retain staff and your people is so important to a business success. I remember reading this, because we're in the training industry, and so we have jokes about training, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so let's say the HR or the COO goes to the president or the CEO and says, "Hey, you know what? We gotta think about getting the skills up of our people in the organization. It's gonna cost money, but we gotta get the skills up. We gotta teach them, And then the CEO says, "Hey, you know what? This training is too expensive. What if we spend the money and we train them and then they leave?"
Mm.
And the answer is, what if we don't spend the money to train them and they stay,
Exactly.
right?
Wait,
So
Chris, I
yes,
have a thought, and I just want to share with
awesome.
our followers and listeners out there. I was just thinking when you talked about in Japan, and you mentioned that from the lowest level, from the whoever they may be, right? Whether they're floor
Right,
sleepers. Because I had a question I was going to ask you about being an example, right? And then it came down to like floor sweepers and things like that.
right.
So I mean, and I just got this impression that wow, can you imagine if your floor sweeper or whoever, your cafeteria worker, your admin, was so motivated to come to work, and they took so much pride in being part of the company vision. I mean, that is just really inspiring right there. You
Yeah,
just having like you walk into an office building, and the person who's actually cleaning the ashtray, right?
right,
I mean, he's greeting you with a smile, right?
right,
He's making sure you're getting the elevator, or he holds the elevator door for you, or whatever it may be, right? He maybe sees a piece of paper on the floor. He's more than happy to just pick it up, right?
right,
Because their company vision is to ensure that people are happy. Where they're neat, they're clean, and that's really inspiring. And
right.
after you saying that, I just had to share that with our listeners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Thank you.
You know,
Yeah.
I remember this experience. Um, Maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I was at a hotel.
Hmm.
It was a five-star hotel, but we've all been in five-star hotels where we feel like they
No,
don't
I
care,
haven't. No, no.
right? Yeah. So maybe we're hanging out at different places, right?
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah. So I went to this hotel. I think if I remember, I was checking in. It was a hotel that I'd never been at before.
Right.
So they took my bags, and then I was walking to the elevator, and then I saw one of their guys, sweeping the floor.
Mm.
He was sweeping the floor, and I was looking at him as I was walking, and he was doing a pretty good job, but he was very aware because his back was to me, so he couldn't really see me, but he was aware. And I love it when especially service professionals are aware, like in a restaurant. How many times have you like, hey, hey, and then the waiter doesn't see,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So
That's what we think, right? They don't see.
yeah, yeah, or they ignore us, right? So this guy was sweeping the floor, and his
Uh-huh.
back was to me, so he didn't see me, and I wasn't making a lot of noise.
Right.
But then, as I walked closer, all of a sudden he stopped sweeping. He didn't put the things down, but he stood up straight. He turned around and said to me, "Good morning, sir."
Right.
And I was like,
Right.
damn,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow. I
That
mean,
makes you
it
feel
made me
really
feel
good.
good.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
And 2 days later, I happened to meet the GM of the hotel, and I told him about that, and he was very happy to hear it.
Right.
But he was also telling me that he makes it mandatory for everybody to do that, and no manager was around when the guy did it, so he
Exactly.
was
Yep.
doing it, because he was on board with the vision and he wanted to present, the right perception to the guests,
Yep.
and
Totally
to
get
me
that.
that was
Yep.
amazing. Unfortunately, we hardly see that nowadays. That's the unfortunate thing.
Yes.
And then when it happens, it's like, it really stands out, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, and like I said, with this GM, it starts from the very top because I saw him. I didn't know he was the GM until I met him 2 days later. But I saw him going good morning, sir, to people also, and
Mm-hmm.
so it
Hmm.
starts from the top, and that reinforces, leading from the front, leading from the top, and be the example.
Right.
I may have mentioned that I was in the military for 6 years, and I was an officer, and in my second year, my unit, we had to do a 100-kilometer route march with full backpack, full
Oh,
military gear, 100 kilometers, and I think the time limit, if I remember, was 24 hours. So
wow.
that's with like lunch and dinner and whatnot, right? But I mean, it's not easy to walk 100 kilometers in 24 hours with full gear.
It's not easy
So
walking 10 kilometers, Chris.
yeah, I know, I hear that. So we were preparing for the this 100-kilometer march. We were given 3 months to prepare, and of course, you don't prepare for 100 kilometers by walking 100 kilometers.
Right.
So what we did was, it's staggered and gradually increased. But we were training with 6 kilometer to 24 kilometer, and
Mm.
I don't recall that we went, in the training, we never went further than 24 kilometers. But all of this was in preparation for the 100 kilometers. I think marathoners, use that technique as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we would start with the short distance, 6 km, and go up to 24 km over the months. Now,
Okay.
I was the leader of about 32 men, and the fitness levels were very different, with these 32 men. So I took it upon myself. Now, I was the officer, so I was supposed to be leading in the front, right?
Right.
So, but whenever we went on these trainings, I would be at the back. I would be the last man, like kind of pushing the stragglers and pushing them to keep up the pace. So I
Mm.
did that for 3 months. Nobody said anything. So then the day came where we did the 100 kilometer, uh, and instead of me being at the back, I tasked my sergeant to be the back person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was the front guy. I was the guy setting the pace.
Right.
I was the guy leading everybody, the whole 100 kilometers, and my pace was good.
Mm-hmm.
Now we did the 100 kilometers in under 24 hours, and when we came back, we dropped our backpacks, we put our gear down. One of the first things that happened was my senior NCOs, the corporals and the sergeants, they came up to me and they said, "You know what, sir? You're amazing. Um, you were in front all the way. You were setting the pace. We didn't think that you would be able to do it
Mm.
because," and they were like kind of ashamed. They were kind of ashamed, and they were saying, because for the last 3 months we've been training, we always thought that you couldn't do it, and you were the slow one because you were always at the back.
Right.
Even though I was pushing from the back, as a leader, you have to lead from the front. And
Right.
so that was one of the things that I learned, and that gave me the foundation that I shared earlier. Always lead from the front. Never ask anyone to do anything that I
Mm-hmm.
either have not done or not willing to do.
Right.
So the the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack.
Correct. I totally agree. Yep.
Right. And we see, you and I have seen, we won't mention names, but we've seen organizations where the leader, the so-called leader, right, the CEO, the president, the boss is like, hey, you do this and you do this, and then they're in their big comfy chair, leading from the chair, And then,
Mm-hmm.
when mistakes are made, how come you did it this way? And it's like, and then
Yep.
deep down, or maybe not even deep down, under our breath, we're going, hey, you're sitting in that comfortable chair just telling us what to do. We had to go out and do all the work,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And
They're
if you
still
want,
living on their past laurels.
right, and if you want your organization to run, then you got to run. You cannot expect them to run um, when you're at the beach, when you're at the resort, when you're in your corner office on your gigantic leather chair, taking a load off.
One question, Chris.
Go
Sorry
ahead.
to interrupt again. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think, regardless, when they get into a leadership position, is it possible that a lot of them assume that they've done their fair share? It's time for them to, lead from the chair,
Yeah,
as you might say.
I think so. I
Right.
think so. And that's really the wrong kind of leader that we want. The other kind of leader that we don't want, okay, I'm going to talk from a sales and marketing perspective.
Sure.
Um, you know, Average salespeople are average salespeople, professional sales superstars, they bring in the deals, they bring in the money, they bring in the revenue, they bring in the profits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I found over the last 22 years is that not every good salesperson can be a good sales manager. Okay,
Okay. Yep.
so because it's a different kind of skill set, um, I've promoted top salespeople in my organization to management positions, and it was disaster. They didn't know
Mm,
how to they didn't know how to lead. They didn't know how to motivate, because motivation, we have to know what motivates people.
right.
In my area of expertise, the sales and marketing, we have the A type, the A personality type, where they're motivated by money.
Right.
Um, but we also have to understand that not everyone's motivated by money. Some people are motivated by the cause and the
Mm-hmm.
vision of the company. Some are motivated by, the public recognition.
Right.
Some are
Acknowledgement.
motivated by, yeah, the
Uh-huh.
acknowledgement, like, hey, Chris, you did a good job. It's like,
Yeah.
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 And then, but for me, right? Hey, Chris, you did a good job. I'll go, yeah. Is it, how much do I get?
So you're
That's
both,
what
right? You're both types.
I, yeah. You know what? For me, I don't need the public acknowledgement. Just give me
Right.
the money.
Okay.
Just give
Yeah.
me the money. You can even slip it to me quietly. I
Okay.
don't mind.
So we know
Um,
what motivates you, right, Chris?
right. But I'm not only motivated by money, because to be merely motivated by money, then you become mercenary, right?
Right.
I'm actually more motivated by what I can do with the money. Whatever
Okay.
whatever that is,
Right.
whatever those things are. It's not so much that I love money, but I love what I can do with the money.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hear you.
Then,
Yep.
some people are motivated by, hey, you know what, you did a good job, take a day off,
Mm-hmm.
go take half a day leave, or here's a coupon for a hotel, take your family out, to a resort or whatever, right?
Right.
So as leaders, we got to know, because you mentioned confidence. Confidence is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence, um, and the willingness to work hard and uh, contribute to the vision and
Right.
contribute to the success of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
It takes all of these components working, in a synergistic machinery style, where the company moves not only forward but moves up as well.
Yep.
So, that's all the thoughts that I have on how to translate effective leadership into personal and business success.
Well, I think
Do
that's
you
that's
have
that's a
any?
that's a mouthful already, Chris.
I
Thank you.
know, huh? I know. Do
Uh,
you have any questions or do you have any thoughts that you want to share? I'd love to hear your perspective on it.
well, no, I think you're right. You hit it on the nose where a lot of people get promoted for a particular skill set they have, whether it
Mm,
might be sales, IT, or something like that,
right.
but they're not really preparing. They're not really promoting for the future. Let's
Mm,
put it this way, right? So that was spot on when you said that, and And I know a lot of people love salespeople. They love their IT people, and then they promote them because they're good. But
Right.
I remember we used to have a lot of people who got promoted, but they couldn't lead if their life depended on it. you know,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
That's
They
true.
were always making people upset, and I guess they were just rubbing people the wrong way.
Yeah, but that's because they just didn't know better,
Right?
right?
Exactly, exactly. But then again, I would blame that on whoever promoted them.
Right.
You see?
It was
Right?
like, hey, you know what? You did good in this contest, or landing this client, or completing this project, or you ran your team, or you ran your project by yourself. So you were so good. You were so good leading yourself
Right.
and accomplishing this on your own. We're gonna make you a team leader, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
The other cliche, Coach D, is I don't believe that leaders are born.
Okay.
100%. Okay.
Right.
Some people have a skill, the charisma, the rapport, the leadership style, the confidence.
Right.
Um, One of the things that I believe is that, leadership is a skill. Okay. As in many things in business, uh, leadership is a skill. And if leadership is a skill, then it can be learned.
That's correct. I believe it was Seth Godin. He mentioned something that people are constantly using leadership and using the terminology of soft skill,
Mm,
right? But in actuality, when you think about it, without leadership, you have. I mean, without the leadership, without people understanding leadership, learning leadership, it becomes more important than just a soft skill. It's a little bit more than just being able to communicate.
right,
It's a little bit more than just being able to build rapport, right?
right.
So actually using that terminology, soft skill for leadership, uh, I don't agree with that.
I've always had a hard time accepting that, the term soft skill.
Right.
It
Yeah.
almost makes it sound effeminate,
Yeah.
or, of a lower priority.
Exactly, exactly. Yes, it makes it sound like it's okay to have. It's nice to have, but it's not really needed. You
It's
know what
not
I
necessary, yeah.
mean? Exactly.
But,
Yep. Yep.
it's necessary. It's so necessary, especially in this day and age,
Right.
right?
Right.
Well,
Especially
let,
now.
let me let me ask you this, Coach D. So, in conclusion, we've come to the roughly the end of our time in this session,
Right.
only in this session, yeah.
Yep.
Um, so, we kind of agree that business success has an important component, among others,
Mm-hmm.
and that important component is effective, professional, and competent leadership, right?
Yes. Right.
Do you have any final thoughts for us before I wrap up our session this evening?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts, Chris, and I was hoping I could share that next week.
Okay, okay. Let's.
But
You know what? Then let's keep it for next week. Uh,
uh-huh.
I'll do a couple housekeeping things right now.
Okay.
We are in session 2 of 5. We are running these leadership webinar sessions live, and they'll be on Facebook. We'll share them in all of our platforms as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we're covering 5 key areas of leadership. Coach D will handle session 1. We already did session 1 last week. Session 1, session 3, and session 5. Session 1, 3, and 5 is the how, the what, and the why. Okay,
Okay.
I think we started
Something
with the
like that.
why.
Now you yeah, now
Yeah, we started with the why. All right. Um, and I'll cover how leadership relates more to business and sales success. Um, and we like I said, we covered that. Regardless of the size of your organization, regardless of the location of your organization, you have to be an effective, professional, and competent leader.
hmm
And one of the highly finely tuned skills that Coach D has is that he's a renowned leadership coach. Okay, So if you have questions on leadership, if you have challenges on leadership, I encourage you to get in touch with Coach D. You can leave your comment at the bottom of the video and say, "Hey, Coach D, can you get in touch with me?" And then we'll put you guys together. What I can tell you is that leadership is a skill. It can be learned, and one of the best people that I know that can help teach you and guide you along in that path, if that's what you want, is Coach D. Okay, so
Thank you very much,
uh,
Chris.
you're welcome, Coach D. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, it's absolutely true. Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Um, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end the Facebook Live session.
Okay.
Um, and let's see. Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts, final words to wrap up our session this evening?
Well, yeah, I guess before we meet again, I guess it's going to be a new year. I think we're going to be
Yeah.
into 2021. So, yeah, I'd like
Right.
the time to wish everybody a safe and happy new year. I
Awesome.
hope
Happy New
that,
Year, everybody. Yeah.
yeah. And, regardless wherever you are, we hope you guys are close to your loved ones, right? And
Right.
that, you're being careful out there. And
Right.
that, see you next year. Next year
Right.
it cannot get any worse, Chris.
Right.
It can
Can
only
can
get
I?
better, right?
Do you think it's okay if I end with a joke?
I don't think so. I'd be happy to hear a
Okay.
joke.
Okay. Awesome. So I'm thinking of starting a service for the new year. We
Okay.
have this drinking and driving. It's a big no-no. So please don't ever drink and drive. All right.
Okay.
So I'm thinking of doing a free service where if let's say you have a party to go to and you think you're going to get drunk, give us a call because we'll come and do the drinking for you. So that
That's a
you
good
can
one.
drive home safe.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember, do not drink and drive. Okay, if you do have to, if you have to be invited to a party and you have to attend, just call Chris and I. We'll figure it out. We'll do the
All
drinking
right.
for you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Okay. Have a good night, Coach D,
Thank you.
and then we'll connect again in a week from now. And I'm going
Sure.
to end the live session right now.
Okay, you got it, Chris.